congratulations to Ciaran Fallon and everyone in Dublin City Council and everyone else who put the work into that. I think many of us here are fans of the blog Copenhagen Cycle Sheet, and certainly at times when I should be deep into considering legislation, regulation and parliamentary questions, I find my mouse drifting to see what the latest entry is on the Copenhagen Cycle Sheet. And I was really delighted that I think we put it up to Copenhagen last week. We said, look, Dublin's doing okay, thanks very much. And there was a real coming of age. And you know, I spent 12 years in City Hall as a councillor back through the 1990s. And they were often very dark and dreary years. And to imagine that in 2010 you would have not only bikes and models cycling through the rotunda of City Hall, that you'd have the Danish ambassador cycling down the catwalk. Unthinkable. I mean, if you were to kind of try and think where Ireland would be 10 or 20 years hence, if I thought in 1991 that that would happen in 2010, I would have broke down and cried. And it was a great night last night, and it's been a great week, all week, with the cycle to school for primary school students yesterday, with the Pamplona Bull Run on Saturday, which Ciaran Fallon is dealing with, the cycle race through Temple Bar. It's going to be great, and Ciaran knows it's going to be great. It'll be brilliant. There is the meet-up in Grand Canal Square tomorrow evening from 5:30 for those of us who cycle to work, occasionally or most of the time. Grand Canal Square down by the canal, that will be great fun. There is the Temple Bar cycling late afternoon, I think, on Saturday. And on Sunday there's a picnic up in the Phoenix Park. So really loads of great events planned for the remainder of Bike Week. There's good news out there. I mean, you can see it out there. The Dublin Bike Scheme, which I was certainly initially quite nonplussed by, it's been an amazing success. The amount of bikes around town up by about 30, 40, 50% as far as I can see. Why did that happen? The opening of the Dublin Port Tunnel took many of the dangerous huge trucks off the roads. I think the 30-kilometre speed limit has really helped. I think the bus gate in College Green. I think the government's, I would say that, wouldn't I? The government's bike to work scheme, whereby you can write off the cost of a bike against your tax, has worked out amazingly. And I just threw out some statistics earlier. Most bike shops are saying that they have got around about half of their sales this year from the government bike to work scheme. And you can see it in the explosion of bike shops around town. But we called up, Tim from my office called up the HSE. 1,300 employees took advantage of the scheme this year. Teachers, almost 1,000 teachers have bought a bike under this scheme. Irish Rail say 100 people signed up. I think Barry Kenny probably made up that figure. I shouldn't say that. I heard loads more people than Irish Rail bought bikes under the scheme, and we'll get a far more reasonable figure out of them. But that's enough about the hard sell on bikes. Look, you know all about cycling. It is a magical way to stay fit, meet people, get around town and save the planet as well. And I always like to say that you drive in prose, but you cycle in poetry. You meet people, you shout at people, you say, look, I'll see you later. It's a magical way to get around town. And even on the most dreary, dismal, snow and icy winter's day, I still think it's relatively easy to cycle in town. And particularly if cyclists had a little bit more respect for motorists, think about what more we could achieve. I'm going over next week to the Velo City in Copenhagen, a city which just hugely inspires me. Not just Copenhagen, Amsterdam, Stockholm, London more recently. Loads of cities are getting in on the act, and I think Dublin is fair square at the heart of that. And I think that will spread out. I think other cities around Ireland, Galway, Cork, Limerick, it's going to happen there when people come to Dublin and see what we've achieved due to some great people. Tonight, though, is about the Cyclize Your City competition, the results of which you can see on the walls around you. The idea grew from discussions at the Bike Week steering group, and it's a real product of team working. The overall funding for the competition, I'm not going to say they came from my department, they came from you, the taxpayers. Thank you for contributing, I think, €1,000 in prizes, in a prize for the winner. And what we're going to do, we're going to take the winner and we're going to make sure that we spread the message out widely around the country. We might do postcards, we might do posters, it's to get the message out that cycling is good, cycling is fun, and we should do it more. And we'll look at ways of doing that. I forgot to thank Dave Douglas from Gallery 1. I have put my nose against the glass so many times, and it's so nice to be inside, experiencing the gallery, which is absolutely magical. I think I've thanked Ciaran Fallon from Dublin City Council, Ronnie Devlin from the Department of Transport, the Finola O'Driscoll from the National Transport Authority, Evo, who did a great job on the website, and of course all of you who entered, because you are really important people. Bullet points written down for you. It makes it so much easier to do these things. I had a look around at the entries. There are loads of brilliant entries out there. And you know, I have my pet obsessions, which is getting the cycling message out beyond Dublin, making sure there's kids on bikes, making sure not every cyclist is wearing a helmet. But I put all of my own obsessions to one side in judging the competition. There's some magical stuff. I love those big format prints on the firewall there. Anna Doran, I think they are really nice. I loved all of the Molly Malone ones, particularly the livery one out there, and the Good Golly Miss Molly, just for title alone, this one of Molly with her bike over there. I think that's absolutely great. I love the way somebody got us over to Galway, rush hour on Taylor's Hill, Nina Walsh, I think. Lovely to think about those kind of really dangerous roads on the lead into cities around the country like Taylor's Hill and Galway, and to imagine that a child who looks like she's about 5 years old could cycle down the middle of it. That's the kind of world I want to see, and I think with the kind of commitment I see in these drawings, that can and will happen. I love the Discover the City by Ciaran Cuffe, and the Dublin Cyclize by Don Kerry in the far corner here with the balloon, and with no cars allowed on O'Connell Street. And imagine a lot more pedestrianisation, and lots of you took the pedestrianisation theme, just allowing pedestrians and bikes in, and what that could do. But I think for me, the one that really clinched it was the Bikes Are Rising by Therese Purcell. And I'm glad to say that Therese has great. The bikes are taking over. The bikes are rising just here with a bike rising triumphant over the Liffey. And I think that's a fantastic graphic, and I'd like to think I could hand you a large check with the you know, we were quite worried just in case we didn't know who it was and they looked for the money in cash. How did we get the money out to the wrong person? But it's a great day. I think it's a fantastic week for cycling. I think you really, every single one of you who've entered, I compliment you for taking the time to put the effort in. We still have lots of brilliant events ahead of us in Bike Week 2010. I think the challenge continues. I know loads of you are working hard on making cycling a success. It already is if you look out the window, and it can only get better. Thank you all so much, and thanks again.